Hello, it's Brian Goulet of the Goulet Pen Company and InkNouveau.com. I've been getting a lot of questions about Pilot and their Con-50 converter, this little metal piece that's inside there. What the heck is that thing? Well, I know, so I'm going to tell you. These are two Pilot Con-50 converters. This is the original one. It's made to fit onto a Pilot pen. For example, this is a Pilot vanishing point nib, and it just fits on here so snugly and beautifully. Most of the Pilot pens take these. Actually, I can't think of one that doesn't. Maybe the Pilot Knight. I don't know. There might be some that don't take this converter, but it's the pretty common, like, standard universal Pilot converter, Pilot Doohickey. So this has been the standard for a while. You know, it looks kind of like a regular converter, and it's just, you know, a piston operated. But they started coming out with these little metal doohickeys that are inside. It's just a, you know, it's kind of like a funnel-shaped piece of metal. It has a hole in the middle of it, and, you know, it's just kind of made to sit down in the part where the converter steps. Now, what is this thing for? Well, it's there because it was kind of a common complaint for a little while that the ink would hang up inside the top of the converter, especially when you go from having the pen stored nib up, which means that the converter sits like this. The ink kind of gathers in the back part of the converter here. Then when you flip it upside down, the ink doesn't tend to want to drop down unless you kind of shake it or whatever. So what this was for was to help to kind of agitate the ink and keep it from hanging up in the back. I'll show you real quick how that works. So here's the old Con-50. If I've got the, you know, nib pointing up on this pen, the converter is going to be in this position. And if I just take and I turn this thing upside down just as it is here, you can see the ink is kind of hanging out in the upper part of that converter, and I've got to kind of shake it and move it around and so on. There we go, to get it to drop down. What this new little metal piece was meant to solve is that if you've got some ink kind of hanging out in the back, that just the action of turning it upside down will cause the ink to pull from the back and fall to the back part of the feed so that it can go into the pen. So that should help you understand a little bit better how that thing works. The only drawback to having the little doohickey in there is it's going to rattle around a little bit. It's not so bad when it's full of ink, but when it gets kind of empty, if you're, you know, writing really fast or just moving the pen around, you might hear that little clackety-clack going on. And also, it'll takes up a little bit of space inside the converter, so it does take just a little bit of ink volume away. It's not a huge deal, but, you know, if you are really particular about it, you may notice a difference. But in any case, this is how they're all coming now, both on the pens and as separate converters. You know, if you're totally not in love with it, I would say you could just unscrew the back of this thing, except it doesn't unscrew. So if you're really brave and you want to take a pair of pliers or something to the back of this converter and try to pull it off to be able to get this doohickey out of there, you know, you're welcome to do that, but realize that it's pretty tough to get off. Otherwise, I would demonstrate it in this video. You're probably going to screw it up somehow just by damaging this metal part or something. You may be able to do it if you can figure out how. More power to you. But anyway, this is what they're doing with all their converters now. So feedback has been pretty good about how well it works. I haven't heard too many complaints about the ink hanging up in the converter since they've made this change. So I guess mission accomplished on their part. But that is the little doohickey. That should clear things up for you about the Con-50 converter. If you have any questions, you can always shoot me an email at brian@gouletpens.com. Thanks so much for watching, and right on.